yeah, so, okay, recording. Yeah, so I got some string and measured the widest bits of my calf muscles and also the widest bits of my thighs as much as I could with just a bit of string. And there is quite a bit of a difference. I do have the calf strings here. I'm not sure if you can see. And can you see that?
Oh, it's quite a lot, huh?
It's like 1.5. It's 1.5 centimeters on my calf, that my left calf is bigger in circumference. And for my thigh, I did like 2 measurements. The first was only a few millimeters, but I think I kind of squished my left thigh, so I did it again. And there it was also around 1 centimeter of difference.
So we're looking at 2.5 centimeters girth. So that means width difference between Caro's right leg and Caro's left leg. Okay, so there's no real answer to this. So that means that Caro's calf on her left side and thigh on her left side is not way bigger, but significantly bigger than on the other side. So it's going to squish quicker. Plus also she's saying, well, you know, when my knee comes into my chest, it gets squished there as well. I feel it's getting squished. The thing is, we do not know, because we are not health practitioners. We leave it to the health practitioners to sort this out. We don't know if it's bone. We don't know if it's compressive tissue, something going on, or some kind of pathology. So something actually wrong going on there, where Caro's got something like bursitis. If you don't know what bursitis is, we've got things called bursa in all of our joints, and they sometimes get irritated and they get inflamed, and then you can feel it when you squish it, basically. But we don't know what it is, so we have to actually go along the journey of exploring. So what would you say to Caro now, after that big explore where everybody figured out some good thing about it? What would you say to Caro in terms of what her original statement was? I don't like sitting like this. Eva?
I would say to her, then don't sit like this,
Exactly.
that way.
But sorry, Eva, carry on.
Yeah, and then figure out what is the shape that you can tolerate, and try to maybe work on some of the things we were talking about. Maybe do some more detective work if it's something you can work on. If it's something you can progress in, which you can't when it's a bony problem, then maybe you will, with progressively building up the pose, get to a little bit nearer to your with your heel to your groin. And if not, it's not a problem at all. It's like, then it's the way it is, and you find your way of sitting.
Exactly. And also we found some stuff out there. So we don't want to go to any compression pain. I mean, we don't want to go there. You know, it's not a good pain. It's like anything where you squish something and it hurts, whether it's the back of your knee or the front of your thigh. It's like, ew, don't want to go there. Whether it's bone or whether it's soft tissue, muscle. Don't want to go there. But what we did learn was actually Caro can get into, I mean, Caro can do fire log pose. That's a big hip external rotation pose, right? But what we learned was it was much more accessible to her when she anterior tilted. Okay? When her pelvis moved forward, she was much happier in poses when it was slightly back, or her, as Ava said, when her heel was closer towards her groin, so pinching, that was even worse. Whereas in fire log pose, what knee flexion are you in compared to close sukhasana? Ava?
Yeah, it's definitely a way less flexed, so the opening angle of the knee is somewhere between, I would say, 60 to 90 degrees. It depends on how you sit. Whereas as a lotus or half lotus would be more or less full flexion. So yeah.
Okay. Does Eric, you're all looking kind of like, oh my word, what are they talking about? Okay. So when you're in lotus, if you were, so this morning, I don't know how many of you did it, quite a few, I got videos, right? I asked you to put there's your leg. I asked you to put your leg almost your top leg in almost like a cradle 4, right? And then dorsiflex and plantarflex your foot, right? And the whole point of that was the knee doesn't change. Look, I'm dorsiflexing and plantarflexing my knee doesn't change, right? It's the same thing. But then I slid my foot, my top leg, slightly inwards, and it's very difficult for me to do. I'm going to have to flip it the other way, okay? Then I did dorsiflexion, and then I did this. I planted, you can see with my elbow, look what happens when I plantarflex, okay? It's dropping down. But the problem is in lotus, you're in, for Caro, your knees are like this, squished together, okay? Squished together, and then you add load on top of it. So that compression, Caro doesn't like that compression, it hurts her, right? It's not happy. But in fire log pose, you're more like this, right? One arm on top, one leg. I wish I could demonstrate. Leg on top of the other. But look at the angle. It's not this, it's this. So if you were doing sequencing or you were working on a pose that required a lot of hip external rotation, Caro can do crazy poses like fire log, which requires serious hip external rotation, really a lot of hip external rotation. But she can do that because the knee is not in serious flexion. Plus, in fire log, she's able to anterior tilt. Baddha Konasana for Caro is useless. Useless. It's like, do not make her do the pose. It's useless. You can do it for 3 seconds in a vinyasa class, but that's it. Skip. Nothing's going to change. If you wanted to check adductors, you'd be saying, lie on your back, Caro, come out of anterior tilt. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon, posterior tilt. Lie down where you've taken that completely out. You're almost in a slight anterior tilt because most of you, if you're lying on your back in Baddha Konasana, it's kind of like a little back bend, right? Like a little, your chest opens up and all that. But you can see Caro's knees are about that much off the floor. I don't think I've hardly ever seen anybody go into knees on the floor, lying down in Baddha Konasana without coming into quite a serious back bend. Then normally people are up. So the point being is Caro's hip external rotation is actually really good. Okay, so in pigeon, did you see how she can take her foot? She can angle her shin parallel to the front of the mat. Not so much on the left side as on the right side, but she's got quite serious hip external rotation. But she's not going to be able to do lotus because of the knee. But you can see how complex that is, right? But then in terms of sequencing, I would expect you to be able to immediately go, okay, we're doing, I don't know, whatever. Baddha Konasana is such a useless prep for poses anyway. But we put Baddha Konasana in for some reason or other, and half of your room is sitting with their knees up like this, in serious posterior tilt. What would be the point, right? So if you're really insisting on doing Baddha Konasana, it's better to have them lying down on their back, right? Does that make sense? You all understand what I'm talking about. It's going to be like, Okay, so what I want to talk about is, I want to talk about that plantarflexion, dorsiflexion thing. If you didn't do it, you're bad, and you need to go and figure it out because it's going to help your practice, right? So I know quite a few of you did it. Who did it and got more range, i.e. their knee dropped when they plantarflex? Mandana? Yeah. Good hands up, even if you didn't do it, okay? All right, so if you plantarflex, why are we getting more range? And somebody answered it this morning. I can't remember who answered. Vedette answered it. Vedette, who thinks no, it was Martina. Where's Martina? She's gone. Oh, she's not there anymore. There's just a room. Okay, Martina worked through it this morning. So what's the difference? What's the difference between dorsiflexing in lotus and plantarflexing? Ava, you're not allowed to answer. only because you're answering, you know all these things. I'm trying to, Mandana.
Where you're rotating your feet more, so your ankle moves as well.
Your ankle moves as well, but what is the key? What is the key, just an Anya?
When you rotate your ankle, you're also externally rotating your hip, and there's more room for your hip to drop down to the floor.
That's it. So there's more room for your hip to drop, but why? It's always simply you think, hello Martina, you're back, because I know you know the answer. Why? Why is there more room?
Because you have distance between inner and outer ankle.
Yeah. So it's literally, there's me in dorsiflexion, right? I've got, this is my inner ankle, my outer ankle. That's 5, 6, 7, I don't know, it depends how wide your feet are, all right? That's the distance. But then remember, this is my bottom leg in lotus. Then I've got to come and put, so already I am 5, 6, 7 centimeters off the floor, not off the floor, but from the floor. Then I've got to come and put my other leg on top, right? So that's quite a significant amount, right? Okay. But what happens if I just do that? Okay, it's just a distance thing. Did all of you, I mean, Roxy did it she did it against the wall. Did anybody else do it against the wall? Mandana, oh, lots of you. Lauren, sorry, I'm going to ask Lauren because I'm asking people I haven't heard from. Lauren. Can't hear you.
I actually found it a bit harder against the wall because when I go into it, I put my other leg straight and I hook it and then I bring it back up. And then it just allows for more space instead of like at the wall. You can't really, without your arms helping you, you can't really like get it where it needs to go. It's quite, everything's tight.
Okay. This is the key. So I want you to send me a video of that. So are you saying that you're able to go into lotus by pulling, using your arm?
I can only go into lotus by pulling if I'm near a wall because of the space. But if I move away from the wall and I extend my one leg, and then I'm actually able to hook my leg up without my arms and then bring it in, and it makes it much easier. And then I tried it in halasana as well. And even with that, if I put my leg straight and then I use momentum to get my foot into my groin crease, with my left leg I can get into a full lotus, but then with my right I actually can't. And I was going to actually bring that up with my right knee. I don't know if I sensed from my anatomy work, but when I flex my knee, especially if I'm in like a half pitch and moving into sort of bringing the knee in, it's so sore. So I think it's got to do with my quad tightness because it goes through the front and I know it inserts. But then I noticed it with this test that we did today is that I can't actually go into half lotus without help on the right side, and I think it's connected.
I'm sure it is. You know, I think most of us have some kind of issue, and I'm much better with if I do lotus in inversions, I always make sure that my right leg goes in first and my left goes after, because mine is mostly ankle issues, so it's definitely, there will definitely be a difference. I don't know what the difference is, like we did with Caro, but it could be a lot of different reasons. But basically you're saying you can go into lotus if you're in shoulder stand and you're not at the wall.
Yeah.
Just middle air.
Yeah, or if I'm even if I'm just lying on the floor, if I have my one leg up, I can't. But if I put my leg down and it gives you the space to actually get in first and then bring the leg up. Yeah, so almost like extending of the hip instead of...
Extending of the hip, which you have to do in inversions as well. Pretty much have to take the hip back. Mandana, who haven't I heard from? Taryn, I haven't heard from Taryn. You were going to say.
Yeah, no, I also tried it, but my lotus is really bad. And so even at the wall, it was really hard and I could not move my leg at all. It where it goes is where it stays. Like I can't, without my hand, I can't move it.
You can't move your leg at all. Okay. So how do you think I was moving because you saw I put my leg into a kind of cradle 4 position, not like a lotus position, but a cradle 4 position. How was I moving my leg down into my groin? Janine?
You were using, so you were bringing your feet back against the wall and then using the pressure of the wall, which aided, because then you pulled your leg, the straight leg, towards your body, which helped push it down.
Okay, so that was doing something else on the wall that slid my foot into lotus.
Pushing your foot against the wall.
Which foot?
The foot that was on the wall, because the other one was.
Okay, so pushing the foot against the wall, but something else I did. Lauren. Can't hear you.
Sorry, every time I can't get used to this. Because you are using the push of the wall, and that also, so it teaches you that you need to use your leg strength to slide the foot down the thigh. So then once you do it at the wall, you understand, okay, I actually need to use my thigh to bring that foot in before I can, so you need to squeeze and activate. So when you're in an inversion and doing it, then you need to actually like.
Okay, what are you doing? You're saying one thing and you're doing the right thing. What were you doing?
I know.
Yeah, you're saying one thing, but I know you know what it is. But what are you actually doing?
Am I not saying it right?
You keep doing it with your knee.
I'm bringing it into the body, so I'm flexing it.
I'm knee flexing. Okay, so I'm using my bent knee, the foot on the wall. I'm not pushing the wall away or anything like this. I bend my knee to literally press my lotus leg and slide it down. Okay, when I bend my knee, it makes me go into more hip flexion. I'm more bent. I'm doing this exactly what Lauren was doing. This. I'm creating hip flexion, but my leg is here, right? And I'm upside down. So the minute I do this, I'm actually sliding my foot down into lotus. Taryn.
Yeah, so I could feel the difference, like when I got into it like that way as opposed to sitting, but I don't know why, but it like really hurts when I plantarflex, it hurts my my foot, like to like a really horrible, like a really like stretch. I mean, it's not like excruciating pain. It's just I can't stay in that position then in an inversion because it just flops out.
It just pops out. So it depends. Yeah. You know, you've got to you've got to be able to really maybe do a lotus sitting down, not a comfy lotus, but a lotus sitting down. But definitely I've tore 3 ligaments on my left foot ankle years and years ago. And this is a true story. I was on my way to get a colonoscopy. So that's, you know, like a big, like going to check the colon. And my 3 dogs pushed me down the stairs and I fell down. I tore 3 ligaments. I hobbled to my colonoscopy. The doctor just laughed at me and said, "Don't worry, we'll give you lots of drugs." And I was like, out for the count with but I tore full tear. So bang, 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 bang. So when I plantarflex on that side, I get a massive stretch, which is why I always work the other way around with lotus. I always use my more happy leg. It's, you know, it is what it is kind of thing. But my point of this whole thing is that we have to start to understand, and I know it's all too much at the moment, I'm sure, but Vedette, I think you're giving yourself too hard a time, okay? But you have to start to think out of the box. It's like, what can I do for myself? Or what can I do for other people to actually help them move into ranges, okay? And I don't want to have the argument that lotus is bad for you or good for you. It depends on you, right? Me in inversions in lotus, it's not bad for me at all, okay? It's probably worse for me to do lotus on the ground with how my legs are, okay? So it's not bad, but I need to be able to work out how do I do this, and we're going to work it progressively over the next week. And this started with Roxy, who actually managed to slide her leg in today, right, Roxy? Okay, so she didn't use knee flexion though, and she had to wriggle. My point is, if you use your knee to push it down or at your shin, you don't have to do the wriggle. Does it make sense, Roxy?
Yes, but like I say, I think it's because of the type of legging I'm wearing. If I'm wearing a lycra, then I can slide my foot very well. But if it's skin on skin, then it's impossible. It just stays.
Impossible. It's impossible unless you put a lot of moisturizer on and it just slides down. Yeah, slidey leggings. If you're going to teach Lotus, slidey leggings are essential. If you're doing arm balances, non-slidey leggings. Got to go the way. Okay, does anybody have any questions around those? Because I want to move quickly onto the yoga research. We're all okay with that? Okay, so today what I want you to go and think about is that when we looked at Caro, we understood that anteriorly pelvic tilting, and it pretty much works for everybody, helps her in terms of hip external rotation, okay? Going forward, the minute she's posteriorly tilted in Baddha Konasana, her knees are up here, right? But she was having pain. And then it's so difficult to determine what causes the pain, and we don't really know. So it's almost better to work out the joint angles and go, okay, what else can she do? And the minute she sends a video going, look, I can do fire log, but not Sukhasana, then we know something is completely, something is going on pretty much at the back of her knee, because it's a compression thing. And if somebody says, I'm bringing my knee into my chest and there's like stuff getting in the way and it's sore, or I'm knee flexing and there's stuff getting away and it's sore, we go, stop doing that, okay? We go, hang on a second, we want to do hip external rotation with Caro, and now we know that Caro may not be able to do like a squished pigeon or a squished lotus, but Caro can do a right angled pigeon and a right angled fire log pose in serious hip external rotation, like more than people bring it. It's way harder to have your shin parallel. You must all, I presume you all know that, right? It is way harder to have your shin parallel to the front of the mat or do Agni Stambhasana fire log pose than it is to do pigeon, like way harder, okay? But it's just something else is going on with Caro. So you have to kind of look around the joint angles, what's going on. And when you see something like that, and you go, wait, but hang on a second, she's able to do parallel to the front of the mat. Her hip external rotation is like good. It's got a good range, okay? So it starts to give you information around that. All right. Who wanted to know about yoga research projects? Juliet, where's she gone? There she is. Hello, Juliet. Has everybody watched it? The little video?
Yeah, I watched the video and for me it's clear.
Are you fine?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, look, you can make it as complicated or as simple as you want, right? I want those things that I've said to you that I want you to do, from the Google search to the PubMed search to etc. That's what I want you guys to do, okay? So Ava sent messages this morning. I want you to go through the research process, plonk those down on a bit of paper, and then conclude something, okay? And that conclusion may be, depending on your topic, I couldn't find any research, okay? This research said this research said something totally different. So we don't know, but not based on your opinion, based on the research. Does that make sense? Does everybody understand it? Okay, you can do it. Oh, sorry, Janine, you go for it. Can't hear you.
Sorry, I keep doing the same thing as Lauren, sorry. I am not with you at all. I haven't seen that video. Am I missing something?
Yes, you're meant to watch the yoga research video.
I have on the website.
It's on the website, yeah. So it's on the website. it's in the core section. There's, when you get to core, you'll see why, although I will move it at some stage. Okay, so watch that video. It really does take you through a process of what you want to do. My only aim for this is that you are able to go out there and go, is what when I do a Google search, the first 100 things that come up may not be true, okay? So it's literally to get you to think in a really objective way around yoga, okay? It's got to be yoga specific. So Anya said the other day, she was talking about your mom, right, Anya? So Anya's mom has osteoporosis in her wrist. I'm not quite sure exactly where, whatever, but osteoporosis in her wrist. So Anya said to me, would it be okay to start loading wrists in terms of making bones stronger for osteoporosis? So using yoga techniques, planks, all of those kind of things. So I said to Anya, well, why don't you go research it? Okay. So, and I can guarantee you that, well, it says in that video that if you go, yoga is good for wrist osteoporosis, more than likely the first 20 things that you come up with on Google are going to go, yes, it is. Okay. If you go, yoga is bad for wrist osteoporosis, then you're going to get a whole load of things that say, yes, it's really bad. Okay. So what is it? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to look at whether any information you're getting from Google is even worth getting, and understand that Google is, in the majority, opinion-based, including news. Okay, 70% odd is opinion, people's opinion, all right? Now, sometimes people's opinion is good, right? You know, if it's the professor of osteoporosis in, I don't know, wherever in the world, then their opinion is probably worth listening to. But, you know, not some general, I don't know, Pilates and beyond, wrist osteoporosis. It's like, who is the Pilates and beyond? But I'm just making up a name. I don't know. You know, it doesn't mean that it's true because somebody's saying it. So then you need to go and do a little bit of research. It can be on anything, Ava.
So you don't want us to really look into the actual papers that come up with the scientific research?
Yes, I do. I want you to, well, I don't, look, it's up to you, but I'm not expecting you to go, I need you to do twofold, Google searches and then scientific searches if your topic covers that.
Yeah, but what I came up with, that's my problem, is I had a look into the papers and a lot of those studies are really not scientifically sound, and then I present them as scientifically. So I would have to have an opinion on that, which I can't find anywhere else when I say, okay, it's not true that this is statistically significant or whatever. So would you like me to include that? Why I am dismissing this paper, or you wouldn't?
Because your opinion in that matter counts, because you're a mathematician. So
okay.
If you're saying it's not statistically significant, or these papers are poor. So for instance, look, there's a wide range of knowledge in terms of research and maths in the group. So you know, if you want to look at the studies as individual studies, a little bit more deeper, and you go, well, this study was like, some paper came up and they've looked at one person. It's meaningless, you know, or it's only one person, and this paper looked at 10. And this is why I'm asking for, or not asking, suggesting that you go and look for reviews, meta-analysis that goes through because then the researchers have done that work for you. They've gone, that paper's terrible, and kicked it out, and they've got they've chosen good papers to conclude from. But that's not always possible, because not every subject has meta-analysis done on it, or systematic reviews, right? So definitely, Ava, you assess away. It's absolutely fine, because it's your job. Does everybody understand? I know Ava does. Does everybody understand, those that have watched the video, what reviews are? I know Emma will as well. So it's like, do you understand? Go like this if you don't, because all of you are like just staring. All right. So when you start looking, okay, so when you start looking, depending on your topic, and I will help you, right? I'm not interested in what you conclude. I'm interested in that you start to look and open your eyes to the fact that Google is not going to give you all the answers that you need, unfortunately, but it's not, okay? So on the one side, there's Google. So if I want to do yoga is good for, restorative yoga is good for anxiety. I Google, restorative yoga is good for anxiety. It's going to be a whole load of things that come up and say, yes, cheers, okay? Screenshot those, look through them all. Then I want you to go to the big databases, which I've listed in the yoga research thing. So it's Cochrane reviews, PubMed, there's the Earl is there. You put in restorative yoga, anxiety. Oh, nothing comes up. Okay, yoga, anxiety. Oh, look, there are papers coming up. There are research papers coming up. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, but there's only 2. Okay. Oh, but there's 20. There's probably actually 100 on restorative yoga and anxiety, but or yoga and anxiety. But there's oh, look, somebody's done a review. And our review is a little box on the side, and I show it in the website video. A review is research. It doesn't mean it's brilliant, but it's better than individual papers. It's a review is researchers going out there and going, let's look at all of the yoga is good for anxiety papers that have ever been done. They look at each paper and they go, well, that's just for one person. That's meaningless. They can't conclude anything. That's it. So they do that work for you in terms of determining what's a good paper and not. I'm not too worried about it. I'm more worried. Most of you won't have even known what PubMed is. So I just want you to know more than that. But I'm not looking for anything brilliant, right? People have been doing these for years. I am just looking for you to show me that you are able to look for information on yoga that isn't Google, right? I want you to look at Google. Bye, Mandana. I want you to look at Google and then go and look at something that's more scientific, something that's more researched by people that do research. And it doesn't have to be mathematical, it depends. People have got, somebody in September did a paper on is yoga religion, is yoga religion? And there was a college debate, and she went and she found a whole load of things. So it just depends on what you want to do. But what I would strongly recommend, just for you, I think, is do something that's fun for you. People have done stuff on, I mean, just the most incredible yoga and PTSD. I mean, just incredible range of things. Somebody did it on why do I feel so uncomfortable in shoulder stand? Okay. And then started looking, is shoulder stand good for you? Are inversions good for you? There's all the Google stuff. Then going into the big databases, going inversions good for you? Has anybody done anything on inversions? So it can be on anything. So Anya maybe wants to find out for her mom, is osteoporosis good? People do it on, is yoga good for cyclists? Whatever your fancy is. And it doesn't have to, I'm not looking for a thesis, right? I'm looking for just a bit. It's like, I'm really interested in this. Run it past me if you want to, of course. I'm interested in this. This is what Google says, and I go through the process. You know, you're going to have to define it. Yoga is good for anxiety. What's anxiety? This is psychological disorder. So you write, anxiety is a psychological disorder. What yoga? Okay, because yoga is, you know, and you'll see when you start researching the proper research, yogas, they often use the word yoga, but when you go into it, it's like Kundalini yoga, or it's only 5 postures, or the postures aren't you like, that's not yoga, or it's hot yoga, or it's meditation, or it's breathing, or it's, you know, the range of things with yoga. It's mindfulness, they even classes yoga a lot of the time. So what yoga? And then you go in, you do Google, you do PubMed, it's all explained there, and I can take you through it, and you just come up with what you found, okay? Then you look at those things and go, okay, so maybe restorative yoga isn't always good for anxiety because, or this paper said it was, but, and it's more just thoughts around it. Does that make a little bit of sense? Yes? No? No? Silence. You'll all find out as you go along the way. Did somebody say something?
Catherine, when is it due for?
I have no idea. You have to look at your schedule. Like, absolutely no idea.
Yes.
So the date is on your schedule? I don't know.
Okay.
I assume it's in July sometime, but not off the top of my head. Like, I never know dates like this off the top. We've got like 54 students doing different things at different times. So it's like, I just go look at the schedule because it's there. And I think it's probably mid-July, I imagine. But it's not a lot of work, okay? Make it about something that you're really curious about. It can be anything. It can be about yoga teaching, anything that is, as long as it is specifically yoga related, okay? Make sense? Yes? Nodding. You got that blank look. I saw this when Laura was talking to you on Monday about sequencing. There were a lot of blank looks. A lot of blank looks. I was like, I'm not sure. Okay, but it's really not a drama. I'm not. If you don't do the work, then you will fail. If you do the work absolutely shockingly, where you haven't obeyed an instruction, then I'll go, do it again. But it's more to get your minds open. That's the point, right? So you don't go and tell your class, you know, I mean, do anything, twisting and detoxification. You know, the example I used in that video is that somebody did, you know, hips, emotions, and yoga release. You know, people have done anything that just takes their fancy. And I know maybe nothing takes your fancy, but it's like, you know, so something for Cara could be, why does my knee not work in this pose? Find out. You know, it's something that you want to find out, or that you're curious about, or that you're passionate about in terms of teaching people, or, you know, anything. It doesn't matter. You know, is headstand good for you? Whatever. Yes? Just silence. I know Ava knows. All right. So does anybody have any other questions, or can I love and leave you? Oh, Cara.
Yes, I have one question that is related to the knee videos. And it is regarding, you talked about hyperextension and then locked joints. And if you bring hyperextended people out of this locked position, it's going, like the nervous system is going to get confused. So I just wanted to know whether you can explain a bit more, like what is the nervous system kind of signaling safety in a way when the joint is locked, or what's happening when the joint is not locked? Like,
it's just appropriate. It's just often when people have got more joint range, and then in yoga we go, you know, bend your elbow a little bit like that, because we're loading. Okay, you know, it's like if you can't really see my hyperextended elbows here, but if we're in Warrior One and I see somebody with a hyperextended elbow or whatever, okay, my arm is floating up in the middle of the air. If for some reason I think it's dangerous and the arm's going to explode or something, I can say bend your elbow a little bit, and nothing's really going to happen. They're going to just bend their elbow a little bit. But when you're actually loading, so if I'm in a handstand, take it to the extreme. If I'm in a handstand, and so many gymnasts hyperextend in their elbows, and they're locking. So look, you can see a little bit of a bend there. Okay, it's not hyperextension, but it's another subject. But okay, so they're locking in that position. We have this thing called proprioception, where our joints, well, actually everything in our body, but in this case, the joints are sending messages back to our brain going, you're in this position. So we put our hands behind our head and we do things with our fingers, and we know what we're doing, right? We know what shape we're making, okay? Because the mechanoreceptors and other things, they send messages and say, okay, you're making that shape. So when somebody's loading, we generally want to go to the most rigid locked state, okay? So take it in a handstand, because that's quite a serious thing to do. So then in a handstand, unless you're a CrossFitter or somebody, I want my arm locked, right? I want that sensation in my head and of my arm being dead straight, because that's the safest thing for my nervous system. Now, I could probably do a handstand like that. It wouldn't be too much of a big deal. But my brain doesn't like it. It wants it. It wants the messages when the bones come together to go up there and go, you are safe, because it's used to it. Okay? It's not because it can't do it with the bend thing, it's just used to it. right? So if you tell somebody who's got serious hyperextension because you think they're going to hurt themselves in a loaded position, so like a balance, bend your leg, that the messages are different. Okay, the messages that are being sent up there aren't the same as their locked position. So I always think with yoga, I keep saying this again and again on the videos, is that we always make these instructions in simple poses. Like we cue and we anatomical things like bend, don't hyperextend, blah, blah, blah. But the minute it gets to like really extreme poses, then, so if we talk about the leg, often in Trikonasana, right, triangle, people go, ooh, that's hyperextended, bend your leg a little bit. And it's like, well, the person can bend their leg, no problem. It's whatever, it doesn't matter. But the minute they bend their leg, they don't have the same sense. Okay? And if you really get into hypermobility, they have no sense at all when you bend the leg. Their proprioception changes. So which in Trikonasana, they're not going to collapse to the ground because they've got like a whole load of other things. But if they are in Natarajasana with their foot on their head for the first time ever, but trying to balance in the center of the room, and you go bend your leg, it's probably going to make them feel a little bit more unstable. Not for any dramatic reason than just the sensation of being locked is what we like. So the best way of thinking about it is, think about if I was to do a one-armed handstand. If I was to do a one-armed handstand, I want to create my most efficient stack, right, in my head. And that would be for my arm to be straight. And if you said bend it, it would feel to me like, woo, but it's stronger in this position, in this locked position. And if my elbow is hyperextended, it's still just locked. Does that answer your question in like a really long, vague way as per normal?
Yeah, it does actually.
About hyperextend, because we're going to talk about the hamstrings and all the hips and things next week. We're going to definitely talk about hyperextension, and then you can all yell at me about that I don't think it's at all dangerous and stuff like that. But it's, again, try to think of, when you think about those cues, translate them into other things. So it's like, so we can cue, don't let the knees go over the ankle in Warrior One, but then as soon as we start upping the poses, the knee has to go over the ankle. You want to do Bakasana, the knee's got to go over the ankle. So we've got to, the cue's got to be kind of sort of applicable down the load range. And something like hyperextension of it's like, if I'm instructing that my knee is going to be damaged in a basic pose like Trikonasana, and I'm not saying if people's knee hurts, then adapt it, of course, okay? But in Trikonasana, then I've got to say the same thing with my elbow in a handstand. Then you should be going around, because that's way more load on a joint that's hyperextended. Then you have to actually be saying, well, if I think it's dangerous in Trikonasana with very little load, then it's probably dangerous in handstand with a lot more load. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, nodding. All right. Okay, guys, anybody have any other questions? Claire's got a frown on her face there. You're okay. All right, are we good to go? Nodding, no questions. Good. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.